The one-arm handstand, one of the most beautiful skills in calisthenics and also one of the most misunderstood. Some people take years to unlock this skill, while others get their first holds in a matter of weeks. Why is this the case, and how can you get this skill as fast as possible? Well, that's what I'll be answering in today's video. Alright guys, welcome to the one arm handstand tutorial. In this video, we're going to discuss everything that you need to know when it comes to learning the one arm handstand. I'm going to be covering prerequisites, common mistakes people make, the 3-step process that you're going to follow to unlock this skill, and just giving you guys basically all of the information that you'll ever need to unlock this skill. So let's start off with the prerequisites. To even begin thinking about starting this skill, you have to have a consistent 20-second freestanding handstand hold, okay? You should be able to kick up into a handstand at any time and hold it on command with perfect form. If you cannot do so yet, head over to my handstand tutorial where I talk about how you can learn and master the handstand. Once you have consistent 20-second holds, come back to this video and you can begin learning this skill. As for common mistakes when it comes to this skill, one of the first and one of the most common mistakes I see is people trying to just throw their arm out and hope for the best. They kick into a handstand, they shift a little bit over and they throw their arm out expecting to hold this skill, and they get stuck in a loop for months or even years, never being able to achieve this skill. Understand that the one-arm handstand is a misleading name for this skill. You should not view the one-arm handstand as simply trying to throw your hand out and stand on one arm. I will get into what I mean by this later on in the video, but you should look at the one-arm handstand as a handstand with a lean, okay? If you can frame the skill in your mind this way, you will have a much better conceptual understanding of the skill. The next biggest mistake I see people make kind of ties into this first one, but it's skipping past the shift and not putting most of their time and energy to mastering the shifting component of this skill. I would say 90% of your work will be in this shifting phase, learning how to properly transfer your weight to one arm. And so when we get into the actual 3-step framework to unlock this skill, you must emphasize the shift. Do not skip past mastering the shift. The third mistake I see people make with this skill is worrying too much about perfect form. Just like when you were learning the handstand, your first few handstand holds were maybe banana or looked very ugly. It's going to be the same way when it comes to this skill. So stop hyper obsessing over the most perfect form, because if you do so, you will only stall your progress. And the last and most detrimental mistake you can ever make learning this skill is using a wall, okay? Never use a wall when training the one-arm handstand. See, the wall is really good in learning the handstand because we're only worried about falling forward or backward. However, in the one-arm handstand, we can fall forward, backwards, but we can also rotate. And so using a wall will give us a false sense of progression and reinforce really, really bad habits that become extremely difficult to break on later in your journey. When it comes to any skill in calisthenics, whether it be the planche, front lever, Maltese, one-arm handstand, it's important that you have a strong conceptual understanding of the skill before you actually understand why you're going to be training the way that you're training. See, the one-arm handstand is such a beautiful skill because it is 100% technical. There's no strength curve that we need to respect when compared to other skills like the planche or Maltese, which means that we can learn it extremely, extremely fast. You can either learn the one-arm handstand in 2 months or you can learn it in 2 years. And so that's why it's crucial to understand the fundamentals of this skill and have the right understanding of it when you are doing your shifting drills, your fingertip drills and attempts. Understand that the one-arm handstand is not just twice as hard as a normal handstand, it's 100 times harder than a normal handstand. Because like I mentioned earlier, we are not falling only forward or backward, but we are also turning. And so not only will we need to make corrections with our fingers and palms forward and backward, but we will also need to externally and internally rotate at our shoulder to keep us from turning. I also mentioned that the one-arm handstand isn't necessarily a one-arm handstand. The name is quite misleading. You will hold a one-arm handstand long before your other arm ever comes off of the ground. Because when it comes to the one-arm handstand, 90% of the reason of why you're going to be able to hold it is going to come down to your shift, okay? And so that's why I made sure to emphasize that the one-arm handstand is just a handstand with a lean, okay? This is it. This is the one-arm handstand. If you view the skill this way, it will make a lot more sense as to why I'm emphasizing the shift, the shift, the shift. And don't judge your progress by the holds you get. I don't care if you throw your arm out and you get like a 2-second hold where you're slowly turning. That's irrelevant and it should not make you happy. If you judge your progress in this skill based on the holds that you get, you will never unlock this skill. You need to put your ego aside and you need to work on the fundamentals of this skill. That's the only way you're going to be able to unlock and master the one-arm handstand. Also, one more quick thing I want to mention is a lot of people think that this is some sort of strength skill, right? How you need to be really strong to keep your scapula elevated. To be really honest with you, it's not. It's gonna take you like 1 or 2 weeks max to get used to the pressure of being on one arm. So I don't want you guys to view this as some sort of strength skill. If you can do a 20-second handstand, you have more than enough strength to be able to hold the one-arm handstand. In terms of frequency, when it comes to training this skill, you should be training the one-arm handstand 6 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes a day. This skill requires an immense amount of adaptations to occur, so you must be training it as frequently as possible. Also, if you're not focused during your balance sessions, you're literally going to be progressing at half the speed. You have to be focused. You cannot just be mindlessly kicking up, just throwing your arm out. You're never gonna get the skill. You have to focus, okay? Train it frequently, train it focused, train it with intent, and you will master this skill in a matter of no time. Okay guys, so now let's actually begin with how you're actually going to be able to unlock this skill. It's gonna be broken down into 3 steps: the shift, fingertips, and attempts, okay? And like I said, 90% of your work is gonna be in this first step, so make sure you guys are paying attention. So with the shift, we want to make sure that we're properly shifting our weight, okay? Because like I said, this is the one-arm handstand, this right here, just shifting. So let's actually break down what's gonna be happening in the shift. The first thing that you're gonna do, pretend I'm in a handstand right now, right? I'm in a handstand, I'm looking at the ground. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the hand that you want to shift towards. So if I wanna shift towards my right hand, I'm gonna look at my right hand. If I wanna shift towards my left, I'm gonna look at my left. That's gonna be the first part of the shift. And after we look at our hand, the next step is going to be to bring our head towards the shoulder that we wanna shift to. So almost think of just doing this, right? And this is where people start to go wrong, because what's going to happen is you're going to shift and your whole arm's going to move off center. That's bad, okay? If you shift and your whole arm is going off center, that's horrible. Stop that immediately. Our goal is to keep the arm straight. The arm has to be straight. You cannot be bending your arm at all. If you're bending your arm, it means your handstand is most likely not in the position that it needs to be for you to learn this skill. So really emphasize locking the arm out. So we're going to look and we're gonna shift, keeping the arm straight and keeping the shoulder in the same line as our wrist, okay? If your shoulder deviates from your wrist, that's bad. That means your shift is horrible. So let's go over the 2 steps now in motion. So look, shift, okay? And I will demonstrate to you guys in the real handstand now. So we're gonna look at our hand, shift, go back, look at the hand, shift, go back, look at the hand, shift, go back. This is the one-arm handstand, okay? This is what you guys need to master right here. I'm going to now talk about the lower body and what you guys saw me doing there. So right now I've covered looking at the hand and shifting with our upper body, okay? But it's important to note that your lower body must also shift at the same time as your upper body does. And so a good drill to practice this is to just only shift your lower body. Keep your upper body in the same exact spot, right? Don't even think about looking at your hand and shifting. Just establish that mind-muscle connection with your lower body, right? Being able to tilt your legs to the side and back. And you can do this with straddle, legs apart, or full, legs together, okay? For all of you learning, I recommend starting with straddle. Why? Because with your legs being straddled, there's the same amount of weight spread across a further distance, which means you have more control of your shift. Think about it this way. Whenever you see someone walking across something that's really narrow or they're trying to balance, right? They're maybe walking on a tightrope. Their arms are usually like this and they're walking like this, right? Why? Because when their arms are further out like this, they have more control of what their body's doing, right? Side to side. When your legs are together, it's much easier to lose balance and start turning, especially for beginners. So for everyone watching who's trying to learn this skill, start with your legs straddled. So now I'm going to show you guys this drill that you can implement to help you understand the shifting of the lower body. And so you're just going to kick up into a handstand, straddle your legs. You're not even going to worry about looking at your other hand. You're just going to tilt your lower body like this. That's it. Just go in, out, in, out. Once you get comfortable at doing that, then all you need to do is pair that with what we were talking about with our upper body. So at the same time you're doing that, you're going to be looking at your hand and shifting with your upper body, okay? So this is where many people get stuck, right? This is the one arm handstand, this shifting phase. And many people get stuck because it's hard to do both shifts properly. So that's why it's crucial that you guys spend a lot of time on these drills. And so let's look at it all put together again. The way I like to think about this whole process is the first thing that I do, I look at my hand, right, like I've said earlier, and then when I want to start shifting everything, I make sure to start shifting my upper and lower body at the same time, okay? It's crucial that you do both at the same exact time. And so it'll look something like this. I'm gonna look at my hand, shift upper and lower. Go back, look at my hand, shift upper and lower. Go back, look at my hand, shift upper and lower. And so this is where 90% of your work needs to be. And so now that you guys can shift properly, in terms of what I want you guys to be doing, practice these drills. At this point, you need to have intuition and some sort of self-analysis going on. If you're trying to shift your weight and you're recording yourself and you're noticing my legs are in the same spot, then you have a bad connection with your lower body. So you need to be doing that lower body drill that we just covered. If you're noticing that you're trying to shift your upper body and your whole arm is getting out of line, then your issue is your upper body shifts. You want to make sure that you target the root issue, fix it, and then put everything together, okay? And when you do put everything together, you're going to be shifting in and out of the position. Once you can comfortably shift in and out of the position 5 times without losing balance, you're ready for the next step, which is going to be fingertips. Now, at this point, all of the heavy lifting is already done. Once you shift your weight properly, it's just a matter of hopping on your fingertips. And you're probably asking, well, what is the point of fingertips? Being on fingertips allows us to spend more time in the one arm handstand position. Now we are able to build volume in this position. This is really similar to how when we use the wall to learn the handstand, right? We kick up against the wall, try to take one leg off the wall at a time, and it gave us the perfect opportunity to spend as much time in the position as possible. So I want to reiterate, if your shift is still bad and you have not met the prerequisites for this, you're going to be wasting time, because now you're going to be on fingertips with a bad shift, reinforcing progress in your head. Remember when I told you guys, you cannot judge your progress on this skill based on how long you're holding anything, whether it's your arm is actually off the ground or you're on fingertips. It doesn't even matter. Hell, I don't even know if I could hold a one arm handstand for 30 seconds with my fingertips, okay? But I've mastered this skill. So you cannot judge your progress by the time you spend on fingertips. However, if your shift is good and now you're able to hop on fingertips, now you can target the balancing components happening in your hand, right? Like I mentioned, we're not only correcting backward and forward, but now we're gonna be internally and externally rotating our shoulder. So now we'll demonstrate how the fingertip drill will look like. So we're going to kick up, we're going to shift our weight. Once we're shifted enough, we're just gonna go on fingertips and we're gonna hold, okay? We're just gonna hold here. And we're gonna really focus on the balancing component that our hand is doing. So if your shift is really comfortable, right? It feels fluid, it feels nice. All you have to do at this point is do sets of 10 to 15 seconds on fingertips, okay? What you can even do too is you can shift, hop on fingertips, spend some time there, then go back on the ground, shift back into normal handstand, and then repeat the whole process, okay? This is going to build the most perfect mind-muscle connection that you're gonna need when it comes to learning the actual one-arm handstand. And so to demonstrate this fully again, we're going to kick up, shift, fingertip, hold, come back, and repeat the whole thing. Shift, fingertip, hold, then go back, then do it again. And now for the final puzzle piece of this skill. At this point, you can already hold the one arm handstand. It's just gonna come down to doing a few attempts and you'll already be getting consistent good holds. So like I've mentioned earlier, I cannot reiterate this enough. Each step builds on top of itself. If you have a shaky foundation with the first step especially, it will cause your second step to have a bad foundation and in turn affect the third step, which is attempts. Quite frankly, this is what happens with everyone trying to learn this skill. They skip past the first part, they think they're holding on fingertips, that they're good to go and throw their arm out, they get to the third step and they're stuck here for 3 years wondering what's going on, okay? When in reality, step one, their foundation is horrible. So do not skip the first step. I'm gonna keep saying this. If you've gotten to this point, you're comfortable with fingertip, you're comfortable with shifting, at this point it's just gonna come down to throwing your arm out. And so an attempt would look something like this. Kick up, shift, fingertip, throw your arm out, right? And then you might fall, you might get a hold there, but you have the full connection and full understanding of the movement. And so I'll show you guys, if you have mastered the shift and you have mastered the fingertips, then your one arm handstand is gonna look like this when you try to attempt it. At this point, you've unlocked the one arm handstand, and to master it, you're gonna keep doing what you've already been doing. You're gonna work on the drills, but now you're going to sprinkle in attempts, right? You're gonna maybe start your balancing session with attempts, and then as you notice the quality of attempts go down, then you revert back to your drills that you've already been working on for the last, month, 2 months, 3 months, however long you've been training. And so when it comes to legs together, right, because we've only been focusing on straddle up to this point, just repeat all the drills that we've discussed, but doing them only with your legs together. And so that's everything that you guys need to know when it comes to learning the one arm handstand. One last thing that I want to mention is the mentality side of things when it comes to this skill. Understand that balancing, especially this skill, is going to be the most bipolar thing you've ever dealt with. Some days you feel like you're on top of the world, others you can't even hold a handstand, okay? And that's also another big component of why no one achieves this skill. You have to take the bad days on the chin and just do what you can. Do the most basic drills. And on days you feel amazing, go for some attempts, go for some new PRs, right? But already I'm telling you guys, you will have days where this is gonna be the most frustrating thing ever. And you can either beat yourself up over it and tell yourself that you'll never unlock this skill, or you can just brush it off and move on. Achieving the one arm handstand is honestly gonna be a big mental game. If you tell yourself that I'm going to get this skill and that I'm not going to let the bad days affect me, then you will unlock this skill faster than someone who's always hoping each day to be better than the previous one, because that's not gonna happen. With this skill, you're going to take 1 step forward and 10 steps back. Okay, that's how it's gonna feel, and it's gonna feel like that for a long time. So accept that, train it frequently, do the drills I've outlined, and you will achieve this skill. If you're someone who's already been trying to learn the one arm handstand and it's been 6 months at this point and you still haven't unlocked this skill, I just want to quickly mention that I do offer one-on-one personalized coaching when it comes to calisthenic skills like the one arm handstand. And so for those of you who are struggling to learn this skill and it feels like it's been forever, maybe you've stagnated, maybe you've reinforced bad habits that you're having trouble breaking, then I recommend checking out the link in the description where you'll be able to book a call with me so we can discuss the next steps we can take to help you break out of your one arm handstand plateau.